great discussion. Um, to our audience, I would like you to post your questions as the discussion progresses. You can post and we'll pick it up from there. So, welcome, Dr. Ekenta Cornelius,
Thank
Senior
you.
Lecturer with Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, uh, Kaduna State, here in Nigeria. Thank you. It's a pleasure having you to discuss on so our discussion today would be an entrepreneurial life in agriculture. We understand that agriculture plays a great role in any country, and as such, it is a critical aspect of the economy. It contributes a lot to the economy, and it's a pleasure to have you on this discourse today. Thank you very much for your time. So, without wasting much of our time, I would like to go into some of the questions for discussion today. So, first, sir, we would like to know how did your earlier choices and experiences in education, professional experiences, and business um, lead you to where you are now, and how has that shaped your success in agriculture?
Okay, that means we'll take that before the career. There are two things I noted that are very, very wonderful and very important for me. One is identifying who I am, knowing who I am. And the second is knowing where I want to go, where I want to be. These two were very, very important in shaping where I am today. Knowing who I am gave me the opportunity of knowing my competence, knowing my skill, knowing my ability, and the things I know I could do very, very well. It helped me to do that. Areas that I know that I'm not competent, I sought for training. I had to read. I had to ensure that I do things to make myself competent and marketable. So that helped me a lot. Now, the other aspect of it is knowing where I want to go. What is my vision? Where do I want to find myself tomorrow? I find it very funny when somebody finishes from the university and you ask him a question, what do you want to do? He will answer anything. You see, anything gives you nothing. But when you have a vision of where you want to go in future, where you want to be, and match it with the skills of identifying who you are, knowing what you can do, definitely it takes you to where you're going to be. But when you don't know yourself, you don't know what you are made of, the stuff in you, the qualities in you, the capabilities in you, then it makes it difficult to get to where you want to be. So the first thing is identify yourself. Make evaluations of who you are. And when you get that right, you begin to now ask yourself, where do I want to be tomorrow? And that will match your competence. So you will not be vague, you will not be in the empty, just trying to look for anything that comes your way. Anything that comes your way might not bring food in the table. It might not be exactly what you want to be. But because you have not planned yourself well to be where you want to be, anything that comes is garbage. And that's where you see some level of people complaining. Where I am is not where I want to be. The things happening around me is not what I wanted to be in future. But because you have not been able to evaluate yourself and match what you want to do and where you want to be with your competence, that is where the problem begins. So for me, that has shaped me a lot because I've worked in various organizations. I've worked with the private before I entered public. When I left university, the first place I worked as a marketing officer. I saw myself as somebody who has that negotiation power, very persuasive, who could convince people. You know, marketing has to do with a lot of trying to convince, trying to do some level of promotions. So because I know my competence, I looked for that kind of job and it took me there and I started. That was where I started. And from there, I kept growing, had my master's, had my PhD, and then started thinking of lecturing because I know from my first degree, I am a trained teacher. So I felt I should be in academics because that's what I like doing. I like inculcating, I like imparting knowledge on people. So I had to discover myself first. And then before I started looking for where I want to be in the future. And that's exactly what has shaped me to where I am today.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Kenta. With us, we also have Mr. Gabriel Abiye calling. It's a pleasure having you on the call today. Welcome, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Apologies for the slight network hitch that delayed my joining earlier. And thanks to you, thanks to Tungsten for putting this together. It's actually an opportunity to build great minds. And I can say it's really been impactful since the day before yesterday that I started participating. Although I've not had the privilege of fully participating, but I've had the opportunity to join from time to time and then see how things flow. So I'm really delighted to be here. Thanks to you guys. And thanks to the wonderful contribution by Mr. Charles.
Thank you very much. So we'd like to also have your own view as to how did your earlier choices and experiences in education, say professional experiences or business lead you to where you are today, and how has it shaped your success?
Okay, thank you. I see Mr. Charles's response was more intentional, right? Sometimes life and circumstances takes us to where we ought to be in different ways, right? For me, I initially wanted to study petrochemical engineering, but I was offered admission to study agricultural and environmental engineering, and I took it. Now, what's the point? What lesson do I want us to get from that? That oftentimes, life throws different things at us. It's advisable that when a lime is thrown at you, a lime is bitter, the taste of a lime is bitter. You try to make a lemonade out of it, right? Then I took it, not knowing what the future holds. I took the course Agricultural and Environmental Engineering, and looking back today, I have no regrets whatsoever. Why is that so? I worked hard to come out top in my class. I didn't see it as a disadvantage, even though there were lots of talks around, oh, you want to be a farmer, a couple of years back, being a farmer is like you want to choose a path of poverty. You don't really want to be successful. But I can say today that I have no regrets about that. I mean, the world is talking about climate change and environmental sustainability. A lot of talks, discussions are going around there. A lot of funds are being pumped to ensure that we contribute to sustainability. I'm a sustainability professional. If I hadn't taken that opportunity I had then, I probably would not be having this conversation with you today. Also, the global population is increasing on a daily basis. There's a lot of shortage around food supply. There is need for us to grow agribusiness. There is need for us to train agripreneurs who would ensure that we are able to take care of these shortages. So I see myself as being really, really relevant. So the point I want to grasp from this is that wherever you are, whatever challenges you find yourself in, whatever situation you find yourself in, you can actually make something out of it. And the most important advice or encouragement I have out here now is that ensure that whatever choice of career you have chosen, try to visualize, try to envision what the future holds for it, and then try to make sure that you prepare yourself to take on adequate roles and then be part of the progress. Because I see a lot of opportunities today, a lot of opportunities around climate smart agriculture, a lot of opportunities around climate change, a lot of opportunities around sustainability, a lot of opportunities to contribute to the sustainable development goals, which I'm sure you're aware of. So it's been such that my choices, right, from my university days, living out my secondary education, has been towards ensuring that I develop myself to take on these opportunities as they come. And whatever challenges I face, I try to ensure that I surmount them. So that's just what I'm going to say on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that wonderful insight, Mr. Gabriel. So back to Dr. Ekenta.
Before you go to the next question, what Mr. Gabriel said?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hello, you will see that we are thinking in the same light.
Yes, sir.
He talked about vision, right? you need to visualize where you want to be tomorrow. And for you to visualize where you want to be tomorrow, you have to have the competence. If you don't have the competence, the skills that will take you there, then you'll be halfway. So that is why I mentioned that time, you need to identify yourself. He identified himself. Actually, he wanted to be somewhere, but like he said, the course of nature drifted, and he took it. The same thing happened to me. What I wanted to read in the university is what I read. I wanted to be a mathematician, but somehow I found myself reading economics education. But now I'm a lecturer, I'm a doctor. I took it. I remember when we were in the university, one of my classmates, as a young man being in education, it sounds funny. People look at you, this guy, is it that you don't know what you're doing? At this young age, you want to be a teacher. I didn't, I wasn't perturbed. But one of my classmates, do you know he couldn't bear it? He had to leave. He had to leave, changed course to read economics pure. Now, I graduated a year after him. But do you know, as I speak with you now, we spoke about 2 weeks ago, he's asking me to help with job. Could you imagine? So when nature throws things at you, you might not know what God is preparing for you. Don't immediately push it away, because what you are thinking might not be what God is thinking. That's very, very important. So the point he made about accepting sometimes or most times what nature gives is very, very important in the life we live.
And making the best out of it.
And making the best opportunity out of it. Very, very important. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, Doctor. Thank you very much for that wonderful addition. Identify yourself, and Mr. Gira also spoke about vision, accepting what nature throws at you. So in that context, I would like Dr. Ikenta to speak to this. How do we get the youth involved? For me in person, now you mentioned about identifying yourself as a person, know what you want, and go after such by gaining the requisite skills. So I like the fact that Dr. Ikenta is in the educational space as a lecturer. So I don't know if we have this captured in our curriculum that would inculcate or imbibe some of these soft skills, because identifying yourself has to do with critical thinking ability, you having to know yourself inside. Yeah. So, and then we find a lot of youths not even not having this soft skill. So how do we go about resolving this from in the school, such that our graduates have this capacity to think and see and identify and see opportunities, even in agriculture? Because while I was in school, I happened to engage in agriculture as a youth, because I grew up in a home where my mom had been practicing agriculture to date. So I picked up that as a hobby, in fact. And then I happened to have made a lot of income and a living from it, and I can always speak about agriculture. But most of my colleagues in school back then, agriculture, like Mr. Gabriel would say, he said, when you go into agriculture, and to study agriculture is like you want to study poverty. So how do we have this inculcated in our students today to have some of these skill sets that they can think critically and key into opportunities?
Okay, thank you. In fact, agriculture is a sector that has high potentials. If we in Nigeria can take the potentials we have in agriculture, we'll be less concerned with oil, because Nigeria has a lot of potentials to support agriculture to a logical conclusion, and to an extent that it now becomes our new crude oil. Unfortunately, we are not taking advantage of all those potentials in Nigeria. Let me just mention one or two before I look at that. Nigeria has about 91 million hectares of land. 91 million hectares of land. And this 91 million hectares of land we have, only about 2 million are arable land. That means they support agriculture. You could farm on them. But only 40% is being used. That's a very great potential that we have in Nigeria. Very, very great potential. Nigeria has a population of about 200 million, and that 200 million is demand itself. It's already market. That there's no product anything you produce in agriculture in Nigeria that you cannot sell. There's none. So we have great potentials. Coming back to your questions, you see, we need to have a change of orientation. We need to have a change of orientation. All along, our orientation has always been that you make the best of living in white-collar job. That was what we got from our colonial masters, white-collar job. Orientation has to change. Why do we have high level of unemployability in Nigeria? Even when people have graduated, even in Nigeria, there are people who are PhD holders who don't have job up till now. Employability is about skill. It's about skill. It's not about your certificate. I worked with the British Council before I joined lecturing. At that time, I had masters. But do you know, till I left the British Council, they never asked me for my certificate for one day. But they were satisfied with the work I am able to do. They were looking at my performance. That was what was most important for them, and not the certificate I have. So in our youth, we need reorientation to begin to let people know, let it be part of our curriculum. Let us understand that it's not about sitting in the office. At the end of the day, what matters is what comes to your pockets. How do you live your life? How do you take care of your family, the society, your siblings, and how do you contribute to national growth? That's what is more important. So first of all, is change in orientation. And now, if that is done, the next thing is to look at our academic curriculum. Academic curriculum in Nigeria is so theoretical oriented. It's not practical. And that is why you see a mechanical engineer who will finish as a first class holder, but he goes to a mechanic, a roadside mechanic, to repair his cars. Electrical engineer who has first class, any little electrical fault in his house, he has to look for electrician or somebody who's not skilled to come and do it for him. You see, we are basing our education just on theory and not practical. What the society needs is more of practical and not theory. And that is why the advanced countries are moving up, because everything is about practical, what you can do. And look forward to a situation where somebody who is reading chemical meteorological engineer will finish from the university, meteorological, and is able to fashion an engine, a prototype of an engine of a car. Let that be his project, not just writing theories of what has been said million years ago by the white men. That will not help us. So first of all, like I said, it's reorientation, changing our curriculum to reflect what the society needs now. Some of this curriculum we are using now are somehow outdated. If you're a lecturer and you don't read constantly, you might be disgracing your class, because as you are teaching, the handset is there. Students will just browse to know whether you are correct, what they are saying makes sense. So we need to update our curriculum to reflect practicality of what is happening in society. And if that is done, then infuse it with technology. Presently, the youth have that flair for technology. Infuse it with technology. What they can do with technology, you will see will be there. So agriculture being so labor intensive in the part of unskilled labor is a problem. That does not promote productivity. The population is increasing, and we are still dealing with subsistence agriculture. It fits nobody. So, like I said, orientation, infusing or changing our curriculum, and then make it reflective of what the society needs. That will encourage the youth to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for wonderful insight, Doctor. Great, and I like the fact that you pointed out orientation, you're orientating the mindset of our youth to see agriculture as a business, as against a poor man's activity. Agriculture is more is a business now. Thank you very much for that. And we spoke about changing our curriculum. Actually, some of our curriculum are outdated, and we need to update it to the current society we have now. And also infusing technology Yeah, thank you very much. So over to Mr. David. We would like to know
Okay.
what would you consider ethical. Sorry for the background noise. So what would
Yeah.
you consider
Apologies
are the
again. I had to join. I was on transit, so I had to just join because, of course, this summit is really important to me. So I had to
no
just
problem.
stop over and then, yes, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the sacrifice. I would like you to speak on what would you consider typical success factors for professionals or entrepreneurs in your industry, which is agriculture.
Thank you very much. The first thing is to have a strategic focus, whether it's in terms of planning, whether it's in terms of management of responsibilities, whether it's in terms of deciding on whatever it is that you want to do. There must be this strategic focus. If you are not focused, then anything that comes your way can easily, toss you aside. Another thing is to have a strong marketing and responsive ideology as an individual. Mr. Charles earlier had mentioned that,
That's Dr.
he
Iken's
noticed that.
That's
Oh,
Dr.
okay,
Iken's.
apologies.
I am the child.
Dr.
Yes.
It's
Iken's,
okay,
that he
Gabriel.
has,
It's okay.
okay, that he has a marketing, he knew that he had a marketing background or, desire, and he pursued it, and it led to his success. Every entrepreneur, every youth out there should be an entrepreneur in one area or the other, even if you work for an organization. Thank God a lot of organizations are adopting sustainability, and they are trying to awaken the entrepreneurial spirit of the employees. So everyone should have that mindset. Then it's really important to have a marketing strategy as an individual, whether it's to market yourself for a job, whether it's to market your ideas, whether it's to market your business. So you need a strategy, you need to have a strategic focus, you need to have a marketing and responsiveness ideology, you need to have self-discipline. Oftentimes, even for businesses that have succeeded over the years, we tend to only focus on the success. The work that was done to get to where that fellow, that successful individual has gotten to is oftentimes overlooked.
Exactly.
There is a role of self-discipline. Oftentimes we overlook it. Oh, you want to mention Tony Elumelu, you want to mention Elon Musk, you want to mention Bill Gates. These guys paid a price. They made sacrifices. They denied themselves of a lot of things. Our youth today willing to deny themselves for anything? No. Everybody wants quick money. So I would want to, re-emphasize the need for a reorientation again. What should our youth really focus on? What are the things that are important? What drives you as an individual? You need to know that. And then you need to discipline yourself to ensure that you bring out the best in you. It is what people see in you that they will appreciate, right? And then it is very important to be passionate about something. Let there be a passion. If you don't have a passion for anything meaningful, you are most likely going to live a meaningless life, right? What is that passion that is driving you? What is that thing that you want to see happen? What is that purpose for which you find yourself, in this life? You see, one of the things that make businesses, because there was a time we did a research and we asked ourselves some questions, and it's a question that is really important for a summit like this. Why is it that you have businesses in developed countries that have stayed for 200 years, 300 years, 400 years? And these businesses are growing. And as I speak with you today, you hardly point at any business in Nigeria that have lasted for 70 years. When somebody raised the issue of First Bank, and then people say, oh, First Bank didn't actually start at the Nigerian bank. We had foreign, investors in First Bank that started it with our Nigerian counterparts. So you see, the idea is there is no purpose. Most businesses are not established with purpose. If an entrepreneur wants to succeed, it needs to be driven by purpose. What higher purpose? What problem in the society have you envisioned? Are you seeing that you really want to contribute to, that you want to see and identify a solution to, that you want to see change for the better? If that purpose is driving you, then it will be very easy for you to succeed financially. It should not be the primary focus. You might not really succeed. So again, I would like to reiterate, critical success factors for me are strategic focus, whatever it is that's important to you. Having a marketing and responsiveness approach. When you identify a market, how do you market yourself? How do you respond to the needs of people, right? Be self-disciplined and ensure that you are driven by a higher purpose. And when you are driven by a higher purpose, when you face challenges, because an entrepreneur's life is in two ways. There are days that are inspiring, wonderful days. There are really challenging days, right? So during those challenging days, is that higher purpose that keeps you focused, that helps you to keep moving, to achieve whatever it is that you are you are determined to achieve. And if that's what you do, then you are bound to succeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel. I would like Dr. Ikenta. What we mostly see in Nigeria is like we have more of subsistence farming. We would like to know, how do we incorporate the use of technology into our agricultural sector to improve productivity so that we make more produce to export, as well as we also see that agriculture is mostly centered in the northern region of the country. So how do we also ensure that this spread across board, because agriculture is key, and like we mentioned, the widespread, the availability of land for everyone to practice agriculture. So we mostly see this being sectioned into region. We have most of the produce, grains grown in the northern region, and others. So could it be due to the soil, or what other factors hinders this? So one is, how do we incorporate technology into agriculture? And then secondly is, how do we broadly expand the practice of agriculture across the country? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that question. You see, the issue of technology in agriculture, it means, let's just face the fact, is using modern equipment to drive agriculture, not just using the normal hoe and cutlass and you just get minimal output. That to be government. That's where government comes in. Government policy. We talked about agricultural transformation agenda. When you read that document, what component of that transformation agenda went into technology? The problem I have with agriculture in Nigeria and the loans we take in agriculture for agriculture in Nigeria is that the loans goes into training people, and the people you are training are not even the actual farmers. People who sit in the office, you take them abroad, they go and come back, and they don't go to the farm, and money is going. So if there will be transformation for us to use technology in agriculture, that has to be government policy and plan and budget for it, because these equipments are not what an individual can buy. If I say individual, somebody who is just beginning, somebody who wants to just begin farming, it's difficult to get a tractor. To get a tractor, you'll be talking about millions. So it is a capital-intensive venture. So the issue of technology comes from the government in trying to say, okay, I'm going to feed Nigerians. I want to go commercialized and leave this subsistence and take it as a venture and as a business. And then get this equipment. And then when you have the equipment, training is important too, because people need to be trained on how to use this industrialized equipment in agriculture. All this should be part of the document of transformation. Some time ago, because I always take my students for a field trip to Benin Republic, where we have Shongai farms, integrated farms. In Shongai farms, nothing is a waste. Everything is recycled. They produce what they consume. And I saw some state governments bringing their people, in 2 or 3 occasions, I have met state government bringing youths from their states to come and learn integrated agriculture. I was impressed. But you know what? When they came back, it amounted to nothing. That was a channel to get more money to embezzle. The guys came back, money was not released for them to go into agriculture. All what they learned just went. So we waste so much money in training. Let me tell you the fact. Even before the white men came, agriculture has been in Nigeria. Our forefathers were feeding themselves. What we need is little training. training in the area of modernization, not teaching me on how to make ridge and open the ridge and put all those things. We know them. So we didn't need trainings in those areas. So that has to be a capital project by government, and then make sure that we transform agriculture. And with the wave of technology, it becomes easier. Digital marketing, because after production, you need to sell. It doesn't end in the market. A young man can sit in his house without going anywhere, through digital marketing, connect a buyer and a seller, and business is contracted without even seeing them. We buy things online without even the supplier. So these are things we could do if government actually want to change agriculture to an industrialized one in Nigeria. The second question is this. You're talking about agriculture in the north. The problem we are having with some of our brothers in the south is that we are seeing the fact that the oil is our own. We have oil. So the state money is always there. But in actual fact, if we do good investment in agriculture, the south should be feeding the north, because the south has fertile land. You have the river with you, natural water body. So you have expanse of land to do agriculture. But the point is that we, because like agriculture, and again, the kind of thoughts in the south is different from what you have in the north. In the south, this issue of get quick rich is more common, and that's why if you take a census of population of most guys into Yahoo, you'll see that it's more in the south. I want to get rich. I want to make money. Somebody who just finished for the university in 1 year, in fact, in 3 months, he wants to ride a big car that his professor has not even bought before. So we are not looking inwards in what we have. But they're not here. Most of them start from the scratch. You see, he starts his little farming, irrespective of the fact that the land they have is not as fertile as our land. They don't even have the water body like we have in the south. But they use the little they have and go into agriculture, and that is why they're feeding us. So in the south, we have all the potential, but this get rich quick syndrome is a problem. Till our youth get out of that and begin to know that, like I said before, money is not just about white-collar job. It's not about sitting in the office to take conditions. You can use your hand and make your money, and everybody will come to you, and it becomes something to be celebrated. So orientation comes in again. The southern youths, you need to change their orientation. You will see in the south, you see a professor, he has not been given title in his village, but just let a young man just finish and come back to the village with big cars, he'll be given a title. So that becomes a symbol. Everybody thinks that's where the life is. So nobody is looking at the resources we have, but we want to look at what is far from us. So it's not as if they have more fertile land. No, they don't. We have. In fact, we have all the resources in agriculture, but they make more effort than us. So that is why we need to change orientation. And if it does not, agriculture will be spread all over Nigeria. The temperature in Nigeria is so good. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. So Nigeria can grow in agricultural crop all around Nigeria. But if we don't do this, the North will keep feeding us.
Thank you very much for that in-depth points. Thank you very much. Orientation keeps coming in, so we need to orientate our mind, change the way we look at things, and get into agriculture. Thank you very much. Sir, I would also want you to talk about the biggest trends and opportunities you see in the agricultural sector, and how can one take advantage of these opportunities? Dr. Ekenta.
Okay, you want me to talk about that, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You see, in agriculture, I would not pinpoint an area and say this area is the trending area. All aspects of agriculture are all trending. They are all trending. There are areas that if you venture into them, you will make whatever you want. So all of them are all trending. But what happens, like I said, An entrepreneur is somebody who has the ability and the willingness to recognize, to identify viable opportunities now in agriculture, and then venture into it to create wealth for livelihood and to support the society. Not the two words, ability and willingness. See, there are times that you have the willingness to do something, but you don't have the ability because you've not trained yourself. Let me give you an example. When I finished from the university in 1995, and went for NYSC, I came back. The first job I would have gotten was to be with an international organization. But unfortunately for me, they needed a computer skill. I wasn't computer literate, so I couldn't get that job. So I had the willingness to work with them, but I didn't have the ability. Because what they're looking for, I couldn't do it. So I lost the job. So ability is different from willingness. Willingness is when you have an ability now and you are able to identify this opportunity and you take a decision to act. It is when you take that decision to have an action towards the opportunity you've identified, that is when you can make it. So opportunities in agriculture are so many that we can take advantage, and we will just be there as young people. Some of the opportunities in agriculture are so. Let me just mention one or two. In crop production, in livestock, in fishery, in apiculture, that is beekeeping, in horticulture, they're all there. Snaring, right? These are all areas somebody can go into. If you're talking of livestock, you have cattle rearing, you have poultry. In poultry, you have layers and broilers. You have sheep and goats, you have rabbitry, you have piggery. They're all opportunities in agriculture. When you come to fish production, somebody can decide to go into fryers or fingerling production, juveniles, the adults. These are opportunities that we can leverage upon. I've not even talked about snare production. And all of them need feed. So somebody can go into feed formulation and feed production. So these are opportunities that you have in agriculture. But what matters is, how do you identify these opportunities? You see, what makes someone to succeed in agriculture or any business you're doing is being able to identify where there is a disequilibrium between supply and demand. If you hear where there is more demand than the supply, then you have a market. It was when we were doing the elementary economics that we were told that demand creates its own supply. But these days, it is supply that is actually creating demand. So if you look at those opportunities, even if it is not within the environment you are, it is not happening. And you identify that opportunity and begin to supply, people begin to get interested. If you look at the technology of phone that we have today, it is when the iPhone came to market that people started buying it. It was not as if people asked for it to be produced. So you see, the supply itself is creating the demand. Okay, let me give you an instance of looking for opportunity. Entrepreneurship is also about innovation, bringing in new ideas so that you can capture the market. Do you know, I noticed recently, especially in Lagos, there are parents who are so busy to an extent that they don't have that opportunity or time to go to the market to do some shopping for themselves. Some young men, in fact, I read it in internet, I fancied it so much, now started going to houses, make you to trust them, believe they can do it for you. You give them a list of what you want to buy in the market, and they will go and shop for you and bring for you in the house. As they are doing this business, the business grew. So they don't even go to house to house, they have an office. You will just call them, please, I need so and so. Give you a list of what you're going to buy for them in the market. They will go to the market and shop for you and send to your house. Can you see somebody has created a market opportunity for himself and is making it? But somebody is sitting down waiting for that opportunity to come meet him. So sometimes you create the idea yourself, you nurture the idea, and the idea develops. You begin to make some money and you begin to employ. So these are ways we can look at things and begin to create opportunity for ourselves. Even when the opportunities don't avail themselves, you can create them within your environment. And then before you know it, you're already there.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much, sir. To Mr. Gabriel, I would like to also point out some findings where it says that women constitute around 65 to 80% of agricultural labor force in Nigeria.
Certainly.
Yes. So, and we find out that that is to say that women grow a lot of the food we eat, especially the vegetables and all of those, most of the food we eat, because women engage more in agricultural practices. But we find out that access to credit, microcredit to support them, is a challenge. So, what can we do differently? Because looking at the figure, 65 to 80% engaging in agricultural labor force is enormous. So how can we bring women into play to increase agricultural productivity? Because if there's a continuous sidelining of women to access credit, microcredit, to improve agricultural productivity, there's a challenge. So how can we bridge that gap, Mr. Gabriel? Thank you.
All right.
Let me just go until he comes back.
Okay, sir.
In my PhD, my primary specialization is gender in agriculture. Right. So I think I'm at home speaking about this. You arrive with your statistics. 65% of women, not just in Nigeria, globally contribute to agricultural production. But unfortunately, women don't have the resources. The resources now might not just be on the area of financial credits. In areas of decision making, who makes the decision? In areas of roles, who played which role? In areas of who acquires the productive resources. Let's talk of the basic productive resources of agriculture, land. The ownership of land in Nigeria is such that women don't have opportunity because the men own the land through inheritance. So a man, because he's born a man by virtue of the fact that he's a man, inherits the land. What happens to the woman? The woman that is going to be the person that goes to the farm is the man that decides how many plots she's going to farm, is the man that decides if he wants to join a society, is the man that decides which role she has to play. Even to some extent, some of them, even when they get loan from cooperative societies or bank, it's still the man who is not going to the farm that is dictating, taking decisions. So this is a very serious issue. That was why it pains some of us who are gender practitioners when the National Assembly threw out the gender equality bill. It made me understand that they do not understand what gender equality means and gender equity. They don't understand what it means. When you are talking of gender equality, it doesn't mean that we are talking of the biblical equality where it is said that a woman should keep quiet as the man that tells him. No, that's what we're talking about. We're talking of giving people opportunity. We're talking of trying to give people that competence, allow them to live out their competence, don't to restrict them in any way. What we are seeing presently in the society is what we call changing gender roles. If you remember when you and I we were younger, it is a taboo for you to see a young man who is plaiting his hair or putting earrings on his ear. Is that also? But
Yes.
now it's fashionable. As celebrities, that's what they're doing. That is changing gender role. These are what we see women do. But these days, men are doing them. I remember when we were growing, we were told that if a woman climbs a tree, the tree will die. These days, women are climbing trees. They are not dying. Is it that ancestors have changed their minds? So the point is that we need to come to that point where we give opportunities to women, right? And that has to be, it's not just by me and you saying it. It has to be a policy thing. It has to be a law. Look at Nigerian politics. How many women are in politics? Even when you are coming out, the funny thing about it is that even your fellow women will not even support you if you're a woman. Because they see leadership as a man thing. It's not a woman thing. So a woman should be there. So again, orientation comes in. We need to change a lot of things. There are a lot of things we have imbibed traditionally that are keeping us down where we are. That is why you see those of them that are advanced countries, they have outgrown all these traditional practices, where you see a woman cannot have land. Why would she not have land? Why would she not farm? The land is the land that all of us will live and go. If I have the competence, I have the money to invest. And you say, because I'm a woman, I should not invest. But the man we are giving the land has no resources to invest. So the land is wasting. So we need to change a lot of things through policy, through legislation, so that people can have empowerment. And when a woman is empowered, I tell you, with all sincerity, it's go further more than what a man can do. Seriously. So these things are policy things that if you look at the Land Use Act of 1979, look at how skewed it is towards men only. Men don't have rights. Inheritance, you can't even inherit. Even in the Islamic culture, where, okay, certain percentage is allowed of a woman to inherit in her father's house. But at the time of administration of that law, the man is not there. The men still administer. So you don't have anything to say at the end of the day. So women are just at the back, just viewing what we are doing and just be helping. It shouldn't be that way. So if you see countries where, like advanced countries, where a woman is given that opportunity, that competence, that platform to rise to any level, you can see where they are. But in our country, it's not that. So if you see a woman coming up, the next thing you start nicknaming her Iron Lady. Iron Lady. So that kind of nicknaming brings her down. The morale is low just because she wants to come up with her potential to show that she can do it. So, and because our women, the equal right thing is not there. You cannot go to court. You lose. You lose. Because even the people that are going to administer justice are all men. You see how difficult it is. And that is why when some of us, Nigerians or Africans, go abroad, we have it difficult. Some men, you cannot write their women the way we do here. You go to court and you suffer for it. But because we don't have that orientation here, our laws don't support such things, then we freely do these things and it advantages the woman. And that's why we are still where we are. Like you said, a labor force of 65%, but they are denied the productive resources. We can't get anywhere unless things are done well.
Thank you very much for that wonderful insight. I took note of the fact that you said policy is one critical aspect we need to look at to bring women on board to balance this equation, because women are major stakeholders in agricultural productivity in Nigeria and even globally. Thank you very much for that wonderful insight. I don't know, Mr. Gabriel seems
we've lost Gabriel.
Yeah,
translate like he said. Yeah, let's go on.
Okay, sir. So thank you. Going on, what advice would you give to your younger self at the start of your career or business? What would you have advised yourself different?
Yeah, see, with all the experiences I've had, there are some things that we need to do as a young man for you to be there. The first thing is, do not despise the days of your little beginning. It's very important. Many young men these days don't want to begin from little. Like I told you, if I tell you the story of my life, you'll be surprised. I'm today a doctor, and if God willing and spare life, next year I'll be an associate professor, right? Do you know that I have been a bus conductor? When I finished from the university, I served in the north, in Zaria. When I finished, I went back. When I got home, I couldn't get anything doing. After 3 months, my uncle bought a bus. I'm a graduate. He bought a bus and he gave it out to the driver. They were looking for a conductor. I told him, what am I doing at home? What I need to eat. I can't every day sit down looking at mommy, give me food, daddy, give me transport. Let me move out. He thought it was a joke. I said, no, I'm going to do it. And I started with the driver. Do you know, with all sincerity, when I started, I was paid a good amount of money. 1, I was not paying transport money. 2, I was not feeding myself. Mom and daddy were feeding me. 3, I was not paying house rent. So I was saving almost all the money I was making. When I finished for about 1 year in that journey of trying to discover some other things, I made some money and I left that business. I left him and joined selling of palm oil. I'll take it from the north, from the south to the north, from the east to the north. Before you knew it, money came, you build a house. And at the point I felt, okay, I have been able to acquire something. Let me go back to where I think I belong. I went back and did my master's. And then to the line I am now. So the little beginning is very important. Very important. 2, you need to be resilient, especially in agriculture. Agriculture is a field that is full of risk, uncertainty. There's full of uncertainty and risk in agriculture. You might not, you can produce, you can begin to produce, and out of climatic condition, you lose all. Do you give up? So there needs to be that resilience. You need to be very, very resilient and be patient. Agriculture is not like bet Niger. Yeah, you bet today, in 2 days the money comes. No, the profit, no, it's not like that. It matures. Irrespective of the crop you are going to plant, maturity might be in 1 month or 2 months or 3 months. You have to be patient and wait for it to mature before you're going to sell. So patience is very, very important. Another is passion. If you don't have passion for agriculture, you cannot be like Gabriel mentioned it. Passion is very, very important. Aside agriculture, anything you do in life, there are limiting factors that always interplay with your success. And if you don't manage the limiting factors very well, you'll fall by the wayside. So it is very important that you are resilient, you are very patient, and you just have to recognize that you have to start from somewhere. Don't be in a hurry. When I was young, there was something my dad told me, and I practicalized it and saw it is not possible. He said, no man lies down without sitting on his bed. If you go and try, I tried one day and I saw it was difficult. I just went by the side of my bed. I wanted to lie down without sitting on the bed. You have wound. You wound yourself. So you have to gradually get there. And there are some of us who are lucky. Immediately you begin, luck shines on you and God blesses you. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 year, you are there. Some other person should not think it's that way. All of us are destined differently. Right? So we should not feel because somebody started in 1 year, he's not a millionaire. You want to jump into and become a millionaire, you might make mistake. So we need to be patient. The young ones need to be patient and try as much as they can to be resilient and know that agriculture is full of risk. And when you do this with the passion you have, one day you're going to be there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And actually, for the points you made, days of little beginning, we should always honor that, take that seriously. And then also you talked about resilience and passion, which should be our driving force. And I could all relate to some of these points, like the resilient part, where our youth cannot really withstand the stress or the processes in agriculture. When you try out this year and it doesn't turn out good, it's something they cannot really go ahead. And actually, this is discouraging because there is no sort of insurance cover for agriculture. I, for one, have been a victim where we come together, were partly funded by Fadama to grow land. And towards harvesting, herdsmen came in and then destroyed the Yes. And we went back to square one. But we did not stop at that. The following year, we continued. In fact, last year, we also have short rainfall that we couldn't get to the end of the season. So the crops dry up. We couldn't get as much as we anticipated. That did not deter us to try out this year. So resilience is key, and I can attest to that. Thank you very much. I would have loved to also hear from Mr. Gabriel. It seems he's not here. So thank you very much for your time, Doctor. You've shared a lot of insight, a lot of thought, and I believe our listeners all over the globe have gained a lot from the discussion today. So we'd like to know if you have any other rounding up thoughts to share before we call it.
It's okay. Thank you so much. Quite regrettable that Gabriel couldn't continue with us because he had a lot of insights that we would have benefited from. Yeah, one thing I also want to add, like, is just part of what we're saying. It's just an advice on the young ones. You see, in life, we have to sit down and ask ourselves questions where we want to be. It is very, very important. Do not compare yourself with anybody. All of us came to this world and met ourselves. I never knew I would meet you. So we came and met ourselves. So your face is different from mine, and so your destiny is different from mine. You see, if you want to succeed in life, do not compare yourself. If you compare yourself with anybody, it's either you run faster than where your destiny wants to take you, or you'll be lagging. But take yourself as you see yourself and try consistently to develop yourself. That is one thing the youth need to know. Even now that ASU is on strike, many of them will be idle doing nothing. Develop yourself each day. Even if you read a chapter of a book, go by the roadside and learn what do you call it? Tailoring. When I was the director entrepreneurship center of my college, do you know I had to, we have tailors. I had to go into begin to learn how to sew as a doctor. And do you know the little experience I got from them on how to mend clothes? There are times that clothes you want to go out suddenly and something happens, and that's the clothes you want to wear. Immediately, just take needle, bring the thread and put it and you repair it yourself without going to somebody. So consistent learning, keep developing yourself. One day these things will become useful for you. Idleness is very, very dangerous because it eats your energy, it eats you psychologically. You mentioned about soft skills, social emotional skills. As a youth, you need to learn all these things. These are things that can help you to strive as an entrepreneur. But if you don't have the skills and you are given a job, that is where the problem comes in. You now see you are lagging in that area because you've not developed yourself. So I encourage the youths, please take things easy. The craze for money is actually taking away the destiny of our young ones. Because I want to be seen as riding the biggest car in town, carry the most pretty young lady around. Is that what life is all about? So we need to, at a point, stop and ask ourselves question, am I going in the right course? If you're not going in the right course, then you have to change your course. But if you are, then move on and keep moving in that direction and doing things that are very progressive. If we do that, one day we will be where these advanced countries are.
Thank you very much for the thought. I would have loved to go on because you're sharing a lot of insight to some of the questions that have been coming in, and it's quite wonderful. So we'd love to have you again to continue the discussion some more tonight.
Yes,
Yes,
seriously, it's interesting. Yeah,
and also to engage with Mr. Gabriel as well. Yeah,
yeah,
so it's been a wonderful discussion, and
it's a
a
pleasure.
lot of knowledge have been gained. For me, what I would take from you importantly is identify yourself. You talked about identify yourself. We should have the capacity, the ability to identify and know what we want in life and also go after such. Thank you very much for your time, Dr.
Thank you so
Ikemba.
much.
We
I'm grateful.
appreciate you. Thank you very much.
I'm so grateful. God
So
bless.
thank you, sir. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Okay. Bye for now. So our questions would be addressed in the chat box. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Bye for now.